This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
It's the Blood Red podcast, courtesy of the Liverpool Echo. I'm Guy Clarke. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Coming up over the next half an hour or so, we'll be discussing Mohamed Salah's wing wizardry, having taken both the Player and Goal of the Month awards for October, plus the small matter of Steven Gerrard's return to the Premier League to dissect. To get into all of that, we have the chief, Ian Doyle, the face that runs the place, Joe Rimmer, and to discuss the Reds wing wizard, we have our own social whiz, Kai Delaney. Guys, I hope you're all well. And Doyle, I'll throw over to you first. No surprise that Mohamed Salah has taken these awards. My question really being, is it the best month of all time in the Premier League for any one individual? Because he's got the Player of the Month, the Goal of the Month. Could well get Goal of the Season for that Goal of the Month effort.
He could. Before we go any further, I just want to say what a great month this is for the Blood Red podcast, because joining us for, I think it's the first time, is Kai. Is this the first time you've done one, Kai?
I think it's my third, but over probably a 2-year period, so few and far between.
There you go. It's a good day, a good day. Anyway, yeah, going back to the question about Salah. Yeah, I suppose, at least we're not debating. It's funny, we're not debating anymore whether he's the best player in the world, because everybody now knows that he is. Yeah, everyone's just like, even though he's not scored in his last 3 games, so I'm surprised Liverpool don't try and sell him, to be honest, on the back of that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of October, I mean, the big debate is which goal was better, the Man City one or the Watford one. I have to say, I actually think the Watford one's better, but obviously Liverpool were winning by a few goals and they're playing Watford away. So in that context, you'd have to say that's not quite as important as the goal he scored against Manchester City and the calibre of the opposition. But what he actually did against Watford, such close quarters, such great control. And then the fact that the players there all knew what could have happened because they'd seen what had happened the previous week, whereas there was no element of surprise as such. So he knew. Salah spoke about the goal as well. He said, "Look, I had to do something a bit different because they'd have seen what I did against Man City, so I did something slightly different." And you saw what Ben Foster said after it. He was just saying, what can you do about that? He's a complete nightmare. Defenders couldn't touch him in case they fouled him. And then when he gets up to the goal, you're thinking, well, which way is he going to put it? And you can put it either near post or far post. And he just curled it round the defender that was in front of him and put it in. In terms of it, was it the best Premier League month for any player? Pretty sure all the players that won the league in the May would probably say that their month was a bit better, I'll be honest. And I know where you're getting at, though.
I meant individually.
Yeah. To have 2 goal of the season contenders in successive weeks is a little bit unusual, unless your name's Tony Yeboah, who of course did that back in 95, 6. Which one was it? 1995.
I would say 95, yeah.
Yeah, 95. So, I mean, yeah, that shows you the fact that we recall that, which is 26 years ago. Doesn't happen very often. Obviously, there's been players who've had good months, but to do what Salah's done. And to just, I know we were joking before about he's not scored in the last 3 games, but he's played 15 times for Liverpool this season and scored 15 goals. And I think he's got either 6 or 8 assists. So this is a player who's at the top of his game, playing for a team that certainly at the moment, with the players who are available, is set up to get the most out of him. And he's making the most of it. This is his peak. Pretty sure that if he plays like this for the rest of the season, what's he going to get? 30, 35, possibly 40 goals? I mean, obviously, he's going to miss a bit because of the African Cup of Nations in January. But at the rate, I'm not sure whether it's the best month, but it's certainly got to be up there.
Yeah, definitely. 5 goals, 4 assists. Joe, what do you sort of make of it? And where would Liverpool be? I know Monday you guys kind of went in on talking about the defence and actually how many chances have been given up by Liverpool this season. You think of the heroics of Alisson in goal and Mohamed Salah at the top end of the pitch. Where would they be without him?
Well, I don't like those types of questions. I always remember when Gerrard played for Liverpool, it was always like they're a one-man team. What would they be like without Gerrard? They have got Gerrard, so where would Barcelona have been for the last 15 years without Messi before he left? Where would United, the great United sides, have been without Ronaldo? Where would Arsenal have been without Thierry Henry? Hate that question, Guy. Don't ask me that. So
he's out for Arsenel without Henry.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we found out, didn't we? So, yeah, I mean, it was a cracking month. You were asking Doyle, is it the best month for any Premier League player of all time? It's a difficult question, that, isn't it? Because I don't think I can think of like a player having such a great month, but I'm sure there would have been, there must have been great months that players have had throughout the years. So it's a difficult question. You've started this with some tricky ones, Guy. I won't lie. I don't even know what to say to you, really.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
confused.
That's what I'm here for. Ask the tough,
the
hard-hitting questions. And
it's the international break, isn't it? We're scraping the barrel.
No, that's not
Hang on a minute. I think you'll find this is quality content, Joe.
Yeah,
quality content.
Don't turn off. Don't turn off yet, listeners. Don't turn off yet. Yeah. Kai, let Kai speak. Imagine that everyone turns off, and Kai in his third appearance doesn't even get a word in. Yeah, well, blame the host.
Oh, thanks. Cheers, Joe. No, Kai, in terms of it then, Doyle said before he's at the peak. Obviously, there's the whole contract stuff rumbling on. Liverpool actually best off maybe kind of waiting till he comes down a bit, or do you think he's actually going to scale the heights he kind of hit in that first season, that he's going to continue on this vein of form throughout the whole season?
No, I think he's definitely been in the best form of his Liverpool career. Obviously, that first season was incredible. It was 44 goals over the season. And I saw a thing on Twitter earlier today that obviously he's had 9 goals and assists joint for this month. But the last player to have more than that in a single month was Mohamed Salah in December 2018. So it's that old thing again, only Mo, only Salah. It's becoming a regular occurrence. And I think in terms of the 2 goals, I've probably got to side with Doyle. I think either the Watford one was probably just a bit better for me of the 2 again. He was asked, wasn't he, in his interview, have you scored a better goal than that ever in your career? And he said, well, maybe the one last week against City might have just edged it. So they might have taken that into consideration when doing the vote.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of does sort of pose, I suppose, the thing with Mohamed Salah of actually what left is there, Doyle, to kind of say and talk about with him, because every week, as sort of Kai said there, it is only Mo who you kind of think he's eclipsed and hit new heights, and then he continues to kind of still do it. And in an era in which where the Premier League is blessed with such star talent, he has just completely moved into a league of his own now.
Well, you never get bored talking about genius, do you? I mean, it's why you're always talking about me. But that's the debate about Messi and Ronaldo, isn't it? The reason that's gone on for so long is because they're both so good, and now there are other players, obviously, that are very good along those same lines. Salah's one. I mean, you have to bear in mind that I've said this before a couple of times on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. How many times have Liverpool had the best player in the world playing for them? They've had best players in positions playing for them, like Van Dijk, for example. You could argue Alisson at certain times, probably not after the game on Sunday, but that's what happens with goalkeepers. But to have the best player in the world, and who probably nearly everybody, if you ask them now, would regard him as being that on form, and also not just this season, but his entire Liverpool career and what he's done, especially last season when the rest of the team, struggled, and he just carried on going and, carried them. I mean, I agree with Joe, by the way, about your question, like, where would they be without? It's like, well, the point is that they have got them, and yeah, what would Barcelona be without without Messi? Well, we're seeing that now. That's what happens. But it's not just Messi, is it, that left? It's loads of other players left. So that's how it works. I mean, with Arsenal, it's not just because Henry left. It was other players left as well, and they didn't replace them properly. And it's taken them that long to come round and get to it. So I know what you're saying, that there's always.
I mean, it was just a hypothetical question.
Yeah,
but it's getting absolutely battered for us falling away.
Yeah, I know. It was a hypothetical and lazy question, guy. Yeah, you're better than that. You are better than that, to be fair. Yeah, see, that's a compliment. Like you said, keeping your levels up. You see, you want to have a word with Mo Salah because he's somebody quite clearly is able to keep his levels up. And if you follow his example, then Anyway.
Are you still subscribing to the belief that he won't win the Ballon d'Or and he can't whilst he's at Liverpool, or are you changing?
Yes.
You've said
I still think that. I still think that. Yeah, I still think that Liverpool would have to win the league and the Champions League in a season where there's no international tournament, and he'd have to be really good. Is the only way he'd possibly win it. And I know that Owen won the Ballon d'Or in 2001, but bear in mind that he did win 3 trophies with Liverpool. But he didn't win the Ballon d'Or because of that. He won it because he scored 3 goals against Germany for England in that 5-1.
Also, slightly different award at the time, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly, because there was
a FIFA award. There were 2
that's it. Yeah,
awards.
That's it. Yeah. So, but it's a slightly different award, but in some ways it's the same because it's always going to go to a player playing in Europe, isn't it? At the moment, anyway. It wasn't like that in the very old days when it. Or was it? No, it always has been like that, hasn't it? It's always been like that. They've always given it to the player based in Europe. So that's just the way it is.
I think initially it was only 2 European players. And then it became players based in Europe.
Yeah.
So who do you think's going to win it, Doyle? I mean, I'll just ask the questions now.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win it
this year?
This year
it'll be Lewandowski.
But
I'll tell you, who'll finish second, Messi, and he'll finish second because of the vote is by an awful lot of people who, because they're involved in football, don't watch a lot of football from other countries because they haven't got time to watch it. They only watch the highlights. They're more concerned about their leagues, and that's fair enough. But they have a vote, and they just go, "Oh well, he's done really well." And because Barcelona, whether they're not the rubbish now or not, it's irrelevant. They're still probably one of the top 2-3 most watched teams in the world, and people follow them. So, he's been doing that. He'll probably score a couple of goals for Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League in the next couple of weeks, and then everyone will vote for him. So I think Messi will end up finishing second. Possibly Salah will finish third.
I think
Kai, I'll come to you next. Who do you think's going to win it?
You said Kai, yeah.
Yeah, Kai.
Yeah, cool.
I think the point about trophies is a valid one. Look at Jorginho getting UEFA Men's Player of the Year, and he's not the best player in Europe at all, but because he won the Champions League and the Euros, he's therefore almost a shoo-in for that award. And I don't think it'll be Salah on that basis. Messi, I think this will probably be his last year. He'll probably clinch it again.
Go on, Kai. You can carry on though.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to, initially when I went to Doyle, I was going to say to you that I imagine Doyle would be saying that Lewandowski is going to win it this year. So does that mean
Messi won the Copa America, didn't he? He did, didn't he?
Yeah,
exactly. So that might explain why he would be so high up, but I don't think he's done quite enough to win it.
So does that mean this run of form then for Mohamed Salah basically needs to be carried into next year for him to be looking at winning the Ballon d'Or in 2022 off the back of, hopefully for him, AFCON success, Premier League, Champions League, and every other sort of Player of the Month award until then, and finally he might be recognised?
Well, don't forget they only do the award at the end of the year anyway. Yeah. So it's great if he wins the AFCON, but there'll be another 11 months before they select it. Before we go any further, by the way, Joe, who do you think is going to be the Ballon d'Or?
Guy failed to ask that question, didn't he?
Yeah,
it's a failure. It's a failure. This.
Yeah.
Come on, Guy, get us all into whip us into shape. Take control of this podcast.
I agree with you. I think Lewandowski, because I always think it often goes to an attacking player, doesn't it? And like you say, I think it's voted for by people who sort of notice the numbers, don't they? They notice the returns of attacking players, and I don't agree that Jorginho is I don't think he's the best player in Europe, but I think someone like him should have a better shout because he's been a big part of teams that have won big trophies. So I don't know. I think it should go to someone who's done that, who's won big trophies like Jorginho, but I think it will go to an attacking player. So Lewandowski.
Right, fair enough. Happy days. Right, let's move on from Mohamed Salah then. Let's talk about our other topic we want to get into before we leave here on this international break during this Blood Red podcast. But Steven Gerrard back in the Premier League, Doyle. We were kind of looking ahead to it earlier part in the week. Of course, it has now been confirmed, less than a month until he is back at Anfield as well. Sensible fit, do you think, for Steven Gerrard? Is this the right move for him to leave Rangers to come back to the Premier League and take on Aston Villa?
Yes and no, in a typical me answer there. I would say yes, because, once they come calling, he cannot turn them down. He has to consider it. And he's obviously seen what they've got there. And let's be honest, Aston Villa have quite a lot of decent players. There are players that you'd want to sign. Look at McGinn there, and you've got Ollie Watkins up front, and the keeper's fairly solid. They've got some good defenders, good fullbacks. So there's more than a basis there. He's not going into a club that's like all over the place, which is what sometimes you get when managers get sacked. It's like, come in and try and save us. It's not that situation with Aston Villa. To be honest, that's why I thought it was a bit harsh that Dean Smith got sacked. I mean, you could it's one of those ones where you heard rumours and you just went, that can't be okay. And then you looked at the results. I think they'd lost something like 19 or 20 games since Boxing Day. And I think, not sure that we mentioned this before, but when if you remember back in January when Liverpool played the kids team because everybody had coronavirus, I don't think they've ever got over that. Aston Villa. I don't think they've been able to. It's affected them, and then of course on top of that you've got Jack Grealish, and they've fallen into the trap of just because we've got loads of money. How many times have we seen that? Liverpool had it with Suarez, Tottenham had it with Bale. They get all this money, they go, right, we need to spend it on this, that, and the other, and Whether the players end up working out straight away very rarely happens. Some of them never do. Some of them do over time, but it's too late for Dean Smith. So going back to Gerrard, once they come, I say he has to consider it. The only problem that might be for him is the fact that he went halfway through a season with Rangers. In fact, not even halfway through, it's a third of the way through. And a team that he's already taken to win the league. They're in an okayish position in Europe. They can certainly still get through in the Europa League from out of their group after a bit of a difficult start at the top of the league. They have these other, there wasn't anything wrong there, but he probably just thought, well, hang on, Aston Villa's a massive club. I'm surprised Newcastle didn't go in for him or didn't even consider it from what we understand. But especially when they bring in Eddie Howe, which isn't any slight on him, it's just, what kind of manager do Newcastle United want? And Aston Villa, he's obviously interviewed very well. And the other thing, of course, is Christian Purslow knows him particularly well. Purslow's former managing director at Liverpool. Wasn't there particularly long, it was about 18 months or something before FSG took over. And then he went. And I know Purslow's a massive Liverpool fan and absolutely loves Gerrard as the player. So I'd assume he's given him some assurances over, we'll give you some time, this, that, and the other. If things aren't going well straight away, don't worry about it. So that a kind of security for him. So in that sense, that it happened, mid-November, it's not ideal, but then it's never ideal when another manager gets sacked and you end up replacing them. These are opportunities as a manager. He's probably thought, I've probably done with Rangers all I can do, in the sense that he won the league. He's not probably wouldn't have won the Europa League, if we're being honest. And and that's it. It will be interesting to see what happens, and I'm sure we'll get onto the game at Anfield in due course.
Yeah, Ashley Priestley, Birmingham Live's Aston Villa correspondent, was on the podcast earlier in the week saying actually that this kind of goes back even 6 months. Christian Purslow kind of eyeing up Steven Gerrard maybe for the possibility of replacing Dean Smith. And obviously he's got his wish now and he's brought his man and made a big play for it. But Joe, is this going to be the real kind of test to see Steven Gerrard's credentials? Because no disrespect to the SPL, but Rangers are expected to win week in, week out. And obviously, albeit went unbeaten last season, a great achievement, over 100 points as well. But it was in one of those seasons, of course, with no fans in the stadiums either. How much can we kind of read into what he achieved at Rangers as kind of a taking that just on its own? It'll be a case of having to see him in the Premier League, will it not? If he's going to be up to maybe one day taking on the reins at Anfield.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a big believer that managers need to show that their methods can translate. I think like players, managers can go to a certain club and it's just a really good fit. They can get everything right and have success, but go elsewhere and find that their methods or, their coaching style or whatever just doesn't seem to mesh with that club. So I really think that Gerrard, now needs to go and show that he can do the same things and get Aston Villa playing and moving them up the league. And it doesn't necessarily have to win trophies because, it's not how you measure a club like Aston Villa, is it nowadays? It's more about moving up the league and trying to get them into the European places and keeping them at a certain level for a certain amount of time. And I think, you've seen big managers like Clarke took Mainz, did really well with Mainz, made the step up to Dortmund, obviously did really well and moved on to Liverpool. And Gerrard's done great with Rangers, and now he needs to show that he can do it at a different club. And it's a good challenge for him at Villa, for all the reasons really Doyley's just outlined. I think they've got a decent nucleus of a team there. I think that they are the type of club that he should be able to keep them in the league, and if he does, that will be seen as success probably this season. If he can move them up the league next season, I think they're a hittable. It's not like going to Norwich, is it, where you're never going to keep them up. They're going to go back down, and then you're bouncing around. With Villa, you can sort of see the progression that they can make. They've got a bit of money to spend, but probably not the expectation that's on Newcastle to suddenly, gate crash the top six. So I think it's a good club for him. I think it's a really good test for him. They're a good club, Villa, as well. Decent sized club, good fan base. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he can do there. And I think it's going to be really good for him in terms of his career. And if he does well with Villa in the next few years, his contract runs out, doesn't it, a year after Klopp's. But, if he's reaching the end of Klopp's reaching the end of his contract and Gerrard's had a good couple of years at Villa, he'll be massively in the frame for the Liverpool job. How can he not be?
Yeah, definitely. They have got the fourth richest owners now in the Premier League, Kai, and their owners are very adamant they want year-on-year progression. Finished 11th last season, so that being a top half finish this season, probably not kind of the ambition outlined to Steven Gerrard right now, given they've lost the last 5 in a row. But the kind of big 3 that they signed in the summer, Danny Ings, of course, former Liverpool player, Buendia, and Leon Bailey as well, have only played 35 minutes together so far. So I imagine for Steven Gerrard, it's a case of getting his best players together and into a squad and into an idea, which Villa have chopped and changed between so far this season, and kind of set out a blueprint of how he wants to play. And that will be, I suppose, one key thing that Liverpool fans will be looking at each week is he going to be kind of a progressive attacking manager, or is it going to be kind of a rearguard action?
Yeah, it's an attractive squad. You look at Lampard's been linked with the Norwich job now, and not one that you'd maybe jump at, knowing that the squad you've got there and the kind of likely relegation that's coming. But with Villa, they got a group of players that should be doing a lot better than where they are, and definitely have the potential to do that. And it's still not too far in the season for them to turn it around. I think it's probably the right move at the right time for Gerrard. I don't think he would have got a bigger job. You look at the teams in the Premier League, he wouldn't have gone to one of the big 6, obviously, unless it was Liverpool through that connection. And Villa are probably just fall in that next bracket of teams outside, the likes of Everton, Leicester have been pushing. He can do what Rodgers has been able to do with Leicester, what David Moyes is now doing with West Ham, and kind of consolidate maybe for a year and then push them on to that kind of 6th to 8th position. You're looking at Europa League, maybe pushing a full place, an incredible season like Leicester and West Ham have been able to do. Then he'll be in a prime position in a couple of years when Klopp's contract runs out. Gerrard's going to have 1 year left on his deal at that time, so he'll be in a great position to throw his hat into the ring for the Liverpool job. It is a risk in the sense that he had it quite safe at Rangers, and the club was really kind of built around him and in his image. He's probably set to win the league again this season, and if he could have stayed there for another 2 or 3 years, got a couple more league titles under his belt, and had it all quite plain sailing. I guess the risk is now at Villa. If it goes well, as I said, he'll be in the mix. But if it doesn't go well and he finds himself maybe out of the job or toward the lower end of the table when that Liverpool position comes up, then he may not be considered. And he's always said he wants, if he ever does get the Liverpool job, he wants it on merit for his credentials as a manager. And he's going to have to prove that now at Villa. But he's certainly got the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, he's going to get an early chance to show Liverpool what he can do as well on the 11th of December, just over 4 weeks from now. Then, Doyle, going to be weird, no, seeing Steven Gerrard back at Anfield, but leading the opposition.
Yeah, but it's still weird than Benitez being back. Benitez will be coming
Really?
back. Okay, let's put it this way. Dalglish has been back and literally won the league at Anfield with another team.
Yeah.
Right. So you've had that. You've had Graham Souness has been back. You've had other players in the past who played for Liverpool or managed them, and they've come back as well. So I don't necessarily think it's that weird. It'll be weird to, let's put it this way. It'll be weird to a certain generation. You know what I mean? Who've not used to that kind of thing. So it will be a bit odd for them.
My generation.
So basically, going back to when, even before I was watching them in the 80s, there was the likes of John Toshak came back with Swansea, and there was a guy a defender called Jimmy Mealy, who played for Liverpool in the 50s and 60s. Anybody old enough will remember him. He played like 300 games, a Scouser, and he brought Brighton to Liverpool. They won in the FA Cup at Anfield in 1983, and it meant that Bob Paisley would never win the FA Cup as a manager. So these kind of things happen, not regularly, but they do. Well, it seems to be happening quite a lot this season, don't they? Because Rodgers, you've got Rodgers and Benitez and Gerrard and anyone else in there? Is that it? They're all the Liverpool ones? I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, and they're all in the same month. So I think there's 4 of them, isn't there? Yeah, because they played Leicester twice. So yeah, it will be slightly odd for the fans, but you know exactly what will happen. They give a massive ovation before the game. As soon as the game finishes, they'll be absolutely desperate for him to fail. And then when the game's finished, if Liverpool have won, they'll be like, hooray, and well done, Steven, and that kind of thing. And if Liverpool lose or draw, I'd imagine they'd still give him a decent reception. But obviously, that's on the basis, isn't it, that they probably think he's going to be, as we've said, in the mix to be Klopp's successor or a future Liverpool manager, further down the line. So they don't want to upset him too much. But yeah, I suppose it'll be a bit odd for some of the younger fans. For some of the older ones, it won't quite be so. Well, the interesting thing, by the way, about him going to Villa, did a little bit of research. He never actually lost the game at Villa Park as a player, which is unbelievable. He won 9 times there in something like 14 or 15 games, and he scored more goals against Aston Villa than any other team. So, in a way, he couldn't be more of a perfect fit.
Was the hat trick at Villa Park? It was, wasn't it? 2 penalties and a free kick.
It was Anfield, wasn't it?
No, that was at Anfield. Yeah. At Villa Park, he scored one in the top corner, wasn't he? Last minute winner for a free kick. Yeah.
Opening day, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he does have a fairly decent record at Villa Park.
Was that the year Fernando Torres signed?
Yeah, 2007, 2006, 6-7.
Quite early on in the season, wasn't it?
It was the opening day.
It was opening day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They couldn't get there you go. Couldn't get any earlier, could you?
Yeah. Joe, what's your take on it then? Will it pull at the heartstrings for you? I mean, the microscope is going to be fiercely on Steven Gerrard. Now, every single move, there's going to be an eye from Liverpool looking down on seeing kind of how he is getting on. But when he does return to Anfield for the first time, what do you think the emotion will be for yourself?
Yeah, but I mean, slightly odd. I think just as Doyley's just said, I think he'll get cracking reception. So he should. They'll obviously want him to lose the match, but do well at Villa. And I think, like most Liverpool fans now, sort of look out for Villa results and really wish him well. For people of my generation, I know we could talk about Salah all day long. We can talk about Suarez, but for what he gave Liverpool, I don't think I'll see a better player in my lifetime. He was just phenomenal and on off the pitch and everything he did for them. So, I just got nothing but love for him. And it's not just him. Don't forget coming back as assistant is Gary McAllister, who is another hugely popular player at Liverpool, and Liverpool fans will want to see them do well. So it will be quite odd. I think it's worth talking about just helping you do your job again, Guy. But
yeah, that's fine.
It's worth talking about Doyley's piece yesterday. So it won't be on TV when it's a 3 o'clock game. So it'll be extra special, I think, for those who are lucky enough to be in Anfield that day. So fair play to them, and hopefully might even try. I'm off that day. I might even try and get there myself.
Yeah, I was going to lead into Kai actually saying he's going to be one of those hottest tickets in town because it isn't going to be on TV. But as we've already referenced that anyway. But I suppose for you, Kai, Doyley was sort of saying people of younger generations type thing. I mean, Steven Gerrard is basically where it begins now with the sort of love affair with Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was 9-10 years old around kind of 2004, 5, 6, that kind of era, and it was all about Gerrard, wasn't it?
You were 9 through 2004 and 5 and 6, right? Did well there.
Time moves slowly in Cornwall. We know this.
Yeah. I need whatever he's on.
moves double pace for you. That kind of Istanbul, and then the year after the FA Cup, that was me. Really, my first Liverpool kit was Gerrard. So yeah, it just epitomises everything that Liverpool is for me growing up. And yeah, it will be strange. It'll probably be quite emotional for a lot of people there. I think seeing him back at Anfield and in the opposition dugout will certainly be a strange one. But there'll be nothing but good luck wishes to him. As Doyley says, apart from that match, of course, that Liverpool going to want the result. But yeah, everyone will be keeping a keen eye on Villa over the next couple of years and hoping to see them push on.
Yeah, definitely. Right. We'll be back the other side of the weekend as we do begin to build up to the return of football. Arsenal, the next visitors to Anfield. I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be really good.
Yeah, how I'm already
We've got an entire week of building up to that game, and you're just going, we've won some games now, so we're definitely going to win. 5 Liverpool, 5 Arsenal, or something stupid like that. Yeah. Let's leave that for next week.
Anyway. By the way, we were looking at how are Arsenal 5th in the table? Haven't you scored something like 9 goals this season?
Yeah, but you only have to score 1 goal to win a game, Joe.
All right,
you really only scored 9 goals?
No, you've got like a really low scoring record, haven't you? I'm pretty sure your goal difference, ours is like plus 20, and Arsenal's
here we are. So
it's level. We scored 13, conceded 13. 5 of those came against Man City.
Yeah,
our goal difference is 20. Yours is 0. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Like how have they managed? Fair play, like such a defensive, rubbish style of football that you've
Well,
managed to bore your way into fifth.
They've gone back to what they were like at the
Yeah.
start of Arteta's reign, which is where they
Yeah.
won them trophies. So,
Yeah,
you know,
true.
maybe Arsenal, 1-0 to the Arsenal, it's back after 30 years.
Yeah, even if we have to get 1-0 against Watford in, rather, yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah,
But anyway,
unsportsmanlike behaviour.
yeah, anyway.
Typical. Yeah, there's none of that. See,
It's all good for the Arsenal way, though, guys, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Arsenal fan TV's just not enjoying it because they've got nothing to get angry about.
No, exactly. But anyway, right, that's all we've time for on this edition of the Blood Red podcast, where we talk about Liverpool. We'll be back next week from myself, Guy Clarke, Ian Doyle, Joe Rimmer, and Kai Delaney. Thanks for your time and company. It's bye for now.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.